Most people spend their whole life believing lies that make them feel good instead of truths that set them free. I wasted years chasing shortcuts, avoiding pain, and thinking I was different. The reality, life is brutally honest. And if you don't learn its rules, it'll teach you the hard way. Today, I'm giving you the truths it took me years and a lot of failure to finally understand. Here's the thing. Success is not complicated. It's just uncomfortable. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't knowledge, it's execution. And until you face the truths you've been avoiding, nothing in your life will change. Most people don't care about you. They care about themselves. That sounds harsh, but it's one of the most liberating truths you'll ever accept. When I first started out in business and in life, I thought people were watching me, judging me, paying attention to every little mistake I made. I'd post something online and delete it a day later because I thought someone would laugh. I'd second guess my choices because I worried about what others might think. But here's the truth. Most people aren't thinking about you at all. They're too busy thinking about themselves. They're worried about their own bills, their own relationships, their own insecurities, their own problems. The world isn't running a 24/7 broadcast of your life. And the moment you internalize that, you get your freedom back. Think about it. How much mental space do you actually give to other people? You might notice someone for a second, maybe form a quick opinion, and then you move on. That's what everyone else is doing with you. Yet we live like there's a spotlight on us every second of the day. That illusion keeps people paralyzed. They stay in jobs they hate because they're worried what their family will say if they leave. They avoid starting businesses because they fear ridicule if they fail. They hide their real opinions, desires, or talents because they want to stay safe inside the invisible cage of other people's approval. But that cage isn't real. It's built out of your own imagination. Here's what happens when you finally accept this truth. You stop living for applause. You stop waiting for permission. You stop caring whether strangers, coworkers, or distant relatives think you're crazy. You realize their judgment doesn't pay your bills. It doesn't build your future. It doesn't take responsibility for your mistakes. They have no skin in your game. So why give their opinions power over your life? The irony is, the more you stop caring about what others think, the more respect you gain. People can smell authenticity. They might not agree with you. They might even dislike you, but they'll respect that you're real. And realness is magnetic. Everyone's tired of fake perfection, fake smiles, fake confidence. People crave something genuine. And the fastest way to be genuine is to let go of the fantasy that the world revolves around you and just act in alignment with who you are and what you want. Now, this doesn't mean being selfish or arrogant. It means understanding priorities. You've got one life, one shot. If you keep wasting it trying to earn the approval of people who aren't even thinking about you, you'll look back with regret. Here's a perspective shift. When you fail, they don't care as much as you think. When you succeed, they don't cheer as loud as you imagine. But when you die, they move on faster than you'd like to admit. That's not cynicism, that's reality. And reality is what sets you free. Once you see it clearly, you realize that the only person you need to impress is yourself. Are you proud of how you're living? Are you chasing the goals that matter to you? Are you building something that reflects your values, not someone else's? That's the real scoreboard. Everyone else is a spectator, and most aren't even watching. So the truth is this. Most people don't care about you, they care about themselves. And that's good news, because it means you don't need permission, you don't need validation, and you don't need to keep playing small to avoid criticism. You're free to make bold moves, free to fail, free to succeed, and free to live your life on your terms. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you start actually living. Discipline beats motivation every single time. Most people are waiting for some magical spark of motivation to hit them before they take action. They think one day they'll wake up inspired, with perfect clarity, endless energy, and zero resistance. That's a fantasy. Motivation is like a sugar rush. It spikes, it feels good, and then it crashes. Discipline, on the other hand, is the backbone of every result worth having. Discipline is doing the work regardless of how you feel. It's showing up when you're tired, when you're bored, when it's inconvenient. That's what builds consistency. And consistency is what compounds into results. Motivation is external. It's tied to emotion, to environment, to mood. Maybe you see a video, read a book, hear a speech, and suddenly you feel fired up. That spark is real, but it's temporary. Life will knock it out of you the first time things get hard. Discipline is internal. It's a decision you make once and repeat daily. It's not sexy. It doesn't always feel good. But it's what separates the people who talk about change from the ones who actually change. Here's the hard part most people avoid. Discipline feels boring. Motivation feels exciting. That's why people love starting new things. Day one of a new diet, you're pumped. First week at the gym, you feel unstoppable. But check back in 6 months and most people are gone. Why? Because they relied on motivation to carry them. And when it disappeared, so did they. The few who stick around are the ones who traded excitement for discipline. They didn't care if it was fun. They cared that it worked. Think of it like building a house. Motivation is the blueprint. It gives you the vision, the picture of what you want. Discipline is the bricks and mortar. Without discipline, the house never gets built. You can't live inside a blueprint.
You need the structure, the grind, the daily work to make it real. And here's the beautiful part. Discipline eventually creates freedom. When you're disciplined with your health, your body gives you energy instead of dragging you down. When you're disciplined with your finances, you gain options instead of drowning in debt. When you're disciplined with your work, you get results instead of excuses. One of the biggest lies people believe is that disciplined people are naturally more motivated. That's not true. The most disciplined people often feel the same resistance you do. The difference is they don't negotiate with themselves. They don't sit around waiting to feel like it. They've built systems, routines, and standards that make action automatic. They don't rely on mood, they rely on rules. That's the secret. Discipline also kills procrastination. Procrastination is just a lack of discipline dressed up as "I'll do it later." The truth is, later never comes. The disciplined person doesn't wait for the perfect time, they do it now. They know imperfect action repeated beats perfect action postponed. Here's what makes discipline powerful. It compounds. Every disciplined choice stacks on top of the last. Skip the junk food today, your health improves. Hit the gym today, your strength improves. Save money today, your wealth improves. Each act feels small, but over time it snowballs into something massive. Motivation might get you to start, but discipline guarantees you finish. And here's the final point. Discipline builds character. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're proving you can be trusted by you. That trust builds self-respect. And self-respect is what gives you real confidence. Not fake hype, not temporary inspiration, but the quiet power of knowing you'll do what needs to be done no matter what. That's why discipline will always beat motivation. Motivation makes you feel good. Discipline makes you good. Money solves money problems, but it doesn't solve happiness problems. That's a truth most people don't want to hear, because almost everyone believes money is the ultimate solution. When you're broke, money feels like oxygen. Bills pile up, debt collectors call, and every little expense feels like a weight crushing your chest. In that stage, money really does feel like the only thing that matters. And to be fair, in that stage it is. If you can't pay rent, if you can't buy groceries, if you're drowning in financial stress, nothing else feels possible. But here's the reality. Once those money problems are solved, a new layer of life appears, and money doesn't fix it. Let's break it down. Money can solve stress about survival, food, shelter, security. It can buy comfort, convenience, and freedom of choice. It can even buy back time if you use it right. But money can't give your life meaning. It can't fix a broken marriage. It can't replace lost time with your kids. It can't erase guilt, loneliness, or regret. Money is a tool, not a cure. It handles material problems, but it doesn't touch the problems of the heart, the mind, or the soul. Here's the mistake most people make. They think once they arrive financially, happiness will automatically follow. But if you build wealth without building purpose, you end up with a fat bank account and an empty life. Look at how many wealthy people spiral into depression, addiction, or even worse. They thought money was the finish line, but when they got there, they realized they were still the same person, just in a bigger house with a nicer car. If you were unhappy before the money won't change that. It just amplifies who you already are. Now, this isn't to say money isn't important. It is. If you're broke, don't romanticize struggle. There's nothing noble about being unable to feed your family. You need to handle your financial base first. Money buys options, and options matter. But here's the trap. Once you start making money, it's easy to confuse comfort with happiness. Comfort feels good in the short term. Happiness is deeper. Comfort is the nice car, the upgraded house, the vacations. Happiness is knowing you're aligned with your purpose, your values, and the impact you want to have. One is external, the other is internal. I learned this lesson the hard way. Early on, I thought the next income goal would fix everything. I told myself when I make 6 figures, I'll finally feel good. When I hit 7 figures, I'll finally relax. The reality, each milestone felt good for about a week. Then it faded. I was always chasing the next number. That's the treadmill nobody tells you about. The money game never ends. There's always someone richer, always another level. And if happiness is tied to out-earning the next guy, you'll never win. The solution is balance. Use money for what it's good for, solving money problems. Pay off debt, buy freedom of time, invest in experiences that matter. But don't expect it to fill the void inside you. Happiness comes from progress, growth, relationships, and contribution. Those things can't be bought. They can only be built. Money can fund them, but it can't replace them. Here's the real truth. Money magnifies who you are. If you're disciplined, money gives you more tools to build with. If you're reckless, money gives you more rope to hang yourself with. If you're insecure, money might cover it up for a while, but it won't heal it. That's why solving your inner world is just as important as solving your financial world. Otherwise, you'll wake up one day wealthy on paper, but bankrupt in spirit. So yes, chase money. Solve your money problems. Build wealth, but understand its limits. Money will make your life easier, but it won't make your life meaningful. That's your job. You're not owed success. You're owed the consequences of your actions. That single truth separates people who achieve from people who complain. Too many people walk through life with this quiet belief that somehow, someday, success will show up just because they want it badly enough. They think the universe is keeping track of effort in their heads, or that wishing, hoping, and waiting will eventually deliver results. But life doesn't pay out based on your intentions. It pays out based on what you actually do, and it charges interest on what you refuse to do. Think about it. If you eat poorly for years, the consequence is weight gain, low energy, maybe disease. If you avoid hard conversations in your relationships, the consequence is resentment and distance. If you refuse to learn, grow, or take risks in your career, the consequence is stagnation. On the flip side, if you consistently exercise, the consequence is health. If you study your craft, the consequence is skill. If you put in the hours to build something, the consequence is results. Success isn't owed, but consequences always are. That's how the world works. The problem is, people want to cherry-pick outcomes. They want the success without the sacrifice. They want the wealth without the work. They want the body without the discipline. But reality doesn't work that way. Reality is transactional. You pay the price, or you don't get the prize. That's why entitlement is poison. It tricks you into believing you can bypass the laws of cause and effect. You can't. One of the harshest lessons I ever learned is that excuses don't change outcomes. Life doesn't care if you had a tough childhood, if your boss is unfair, or if the market is against you. Those things might explain where you are, but they don't excuse you from the consequences of staying there. The world doesn't adjust its standards to your story. It just responds to your actions. That's not cruel. It's fair. Everyone is playing by the same rules, even if they start in different places. This truth is freeing once you accept it. If you're not owed success, then you stop waiting for it. You stop expecting someone to hand it to you. You realize you are owed nothing but what you earn. That's where real power comes from, because suddenly you're in control. You might not control every circumstance, but you always control your response. You control the effort you put in, the skills you build, the risks you take, the persistence you show. And over time, those inputs stack up and produce outputs. The beauty of this is that consequences don't lie. If you want to know where someone's been investing their time, just look at their body, their bank account, their relationships, their reputation. Those are the receipts of their actions. The same applies to you. You don't need to guess whether you're on track. Your results are telling you. And if you don't like what they're saying, the answer isn't to complain. It's to change your actions. Here's the irony. People resist this truth because it feels harsh, but it's actually the most empowering truth there is. Because if success were owed, you'd be stuck waiting forever for someone to give it to you. If consequences are owed, then you already hold the keys. Every day is a deposit. Every choice is a seed. Eventually the harvest comes. It might take longer than you want, but it always arrives. So no, you're not owed success. You're owed the bill for what you've been doing. That bill can either be painful or rewarding. It depends on you. And the sooner you stop waiting for luck, handouts, or fairness, the sooner you can get busy paying the price for the results you actually want. Your circle will determine your ceiling. That truth took me years to fully accept, because like most people, I thought I could rise on my own regardless of who I surrounded myself with. I believed I was immune to influence, that I could spend time around anyone and still keep my vision sharp and my standards high. But the reality is, no matter how independent you think you are, your environment will eventually shape you. The people you spend the most time with act like gravity. They either pull you down or lift you higher. And the more time you spend with them, the stronger that pull becomes. Look at it like this. If you're surrounded by people who think small, complain often, and settle for mediocrity, over time their mindset becomes your normal. You stop aiming high because no one around you is aiming high. You stop chasing excellence because everyone around you is comfortable with average. It's not that you consciously decide to lower your standards. It just happens slowly by osmosis. You become the average of your circle without realizing it. That's why so many talented people never reach their potential. It's not lack of skill or opportunity, it's lack of environment. On the flip side, when you're around people who think big, push hard, and chase growth, it changes everything. Suddenly what once felt impossible feels normal. When your circle talks casually about things you used to dream about, your standards rise automatically. If you're surrounded by people making $1 million a year, you stop thinking 100,000 is impressive. If you're surrounded by people prioritizing health, you stop making excuses for being out of shape. That's the power of proximity. You don't have to force it. You get pulled upward just by being in the room. The truth is, humans are wired for belonging. We crave acceptance, approval, and connection, and we'll adjust our behavior to fit in with the group we're part of, even if it's not in our best interest. That's why the wrong circle is so dangerous. It tricks you into thinking mediocrity is success. You start celebrating small wins that don't move you forward. You start defending choices that keep you stuck. Worst of all, you stop noticing how far off track you've drifted. This is why upgrading your circle feels uncomfortable at first. It requires leaving behind people who are familiar but not good for you. It requires walking into rooms where you feel like the smallest player, the least accomplished, the least knowledgeable. And that feels like rejection of your old identity. But that discomfort is exactly where growth begins. Because the truth is, if you're the smartest, richest, or most ambitious person in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. You need to be challenged, not celebrated for staying the same. Some people will say this sounds harsh, like you're using people. That's not the point. The point is alignment. You should love everyone, but you shouldn't link arms with everyone. Who you spend daily life with is a strategic choice, because it determines your ceiling. Friends aren't just for fun, they're your mirrors, your accountability, your reference points. They either sharpen you or dull you. So if you want to grow, stop asking, what do I need to do differently? And start asking, who do I need to be around? Because who will always shape the what. Spend time with builders, you'll start building. Spend time with complainers, you'll start complaining. It's that simple. Your circle is like soil. You're the seed, but even the strongest seed won't grow in toxic ground. Put yourself in rich, fertile soil, and growth becomes inevitable. That's why your circle will always determine your ceiling. Time is the only real currency, and you're spending it faster than you think. That truth hits harder the older you get, because you start to realize that money can be replaced, opportunities can come back around, relationships can be repaired, but the minutes you waste are gone forever. The scary part is that most people live like they have unlimited time. They procrastinate, they delay, they say someday, as if someday is guaranteed. But the clock doesn't stop. Every day the balance in your account goes down, whether you use it wisely or not. Most people don't understand the value of time until they're running out of it. They'll guard their money, lock it in accounts, and stress over every dollar, but they'll waste hours scrolling, binge watching, or talking about nothing. That's the crazy part. Money can be multiplied, but time can only be spent. Every day is a withdrawal from your life account, and you don't know the balance. Maybe you have decades left, maybe you have months. That uncertainty should light a fire under you, but most people use it as an excuse to drift. Here's the truth. How you treat time reveals what you really value. If you say your family matters, but you give them scraps of attention after hours of pointless distractions, your actions tell the truth. If you say your health matters, but you don't make time to exercise or eat right, your actions tell the truth. Time doesn't lie. It shows exactly what matters to you. That's why when people say, "I don't have time," it's not accurate. What they mean is, "I didn't prioritize it." Because the reality is, everyone has the same 24 hours. The difference is in how you allocate it. The dangerous illusion is thinking you'll always have more. I'll do it when things settle down. I'll start when I feel ready. I'll chase my dream once I have more money. The problem is, life never hands you the perfect window. And while you're waiting for ideal conditions, the clock keeps running. Days turn into months, months into years, and before you know it, you're staring at a version of yourself wondering where all the time went. Regret isn't about what you did, it's about what you didn't do while you had the chance. The most successful people I've met treat time like gold. They guard it, they invest it, they cut out people and activities that waste it. They understand that every yes is also a no. Say yes to one thing, and you've said no to something else you could have been doing. They choose carefully, because they know each choice is permanent. That's why they accomplish so much. They're not smarter, they're not luckier, they just refuse to waste the currency of life. Here's the powerful part. When you start treating time like your most valuable asset, everything shifts. You stop procrastinating because you realize delay is theft. You stop tolerating toxic relationships because you know every hour with the wrong people is an hour stolen from the right people. You stop making excuses because you know the clock doesn't pause while you figure things out. Urgency creates focus. Focus creates results. And here's the truth most people avoid. Time is running out for all of us. That's not meant to scare you, it's meant to free you. Because once you accept that life is short, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You stop playing small. You stop living for approval. You start spending your time on things that count. Building, loving, creating, growing. That's the real wealth. So yes, money matters. Yes, opportunities matter. But time is the only currency you can never earn back. The question you should ask yourself every day is simple. Am I spending it in a way that's worth it? Because whether you do or don't, the clock keeps ticking. At the end of the day, life doesn't care about your feelings, your excuses, or your potential. It only responds to action. These truths aren't here to motivate you, they're here to expose you. And once you accept them, you'll never see the world the same again. The question is, are you going to keep running from reality, or finally use it to build the life you say you want?